Michel Zoghzoghi,
Mm,
we are super, super happy to have you
thank you.
on our podcast, TheCozyPod. وقد صرنا عم نجرب أصلا نركبها
نهار
هالحلقة
نهارين.
نهارين. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
finally responding بعرف you have a very busy schedule. um, إذا الواحد بينبش على البيوغرافي تبعك you define yourself إذا بدك as a businessman but also a photographer, wildlife photographer ما هيك؟
مظبوط.
And it says on your website on your page إنه بتبلش you discovered this passion 15 years ago.
صاروا 20 هلا.
صاروا
I
20.
need to update the
Okay.
website.
So 20 years ago, and it was during a polo tournament. Can you tell us more about that,
Yes,
just to start with?
I have a friend of mine who organizes a polo tournament or used to organize a polo tournament every year in London. But I was going to the tournament. طلعت على المطار Middle East. The plane was late. ساعة ساعتين. I went to the airport camera shop and I bought a camera. And I remember the whole flight from Beirut to London. I studied the manual of the camera and I took my first photos during this tournament in London. And I was very happy with the photos. بطلع فيهم ما بيقطعوا بس I was very very
Mm.
happy with the photos. And I started. And the day I started عارف very well انه رح اعمل وايلد لايف فوتوغرافي.
If
ايه لانه بس
why was it that obvious يعني
لان
wildlife?
I've loved nature and wildlife all my life. بس I'm also someone very impatient.
Mm.
يعني تحكيني 10 ساعات in nature doing nothing بستر.
ما بتزبط مع الوايلد photography هاي.
خلاص. comes the camera.
Mm.
إذا بتحكي لي كاميرا بإيدي I'm able to stay 12 hours 10 hours 2 days waiting for the moment. مع الكومبينيشن تبع الكاميرا والوايلد لايف I knew it was going to work. هلا I'm able to go spend 1 week 2 weeks 3 weeks with the camera maybe taking not even one photo بس انه trying to take the best photo that no one took before me. يعني الكاميرا is my pacifier.
Mm.
Basically on the camera I can stay hours and hours with taking photos. So I knew when I discovered photography photography would be the mean and the way for me to stay hours in nature, and it basically changed my life.
Wow. فينا
So
نرجع.
اشتريت كاميرا
إيه.
و 1 year after this polo trip I organized 1 year and a half I organized my first wildlife photography trip.
طب فيك ترجع إذا بدك تحكينا شوي عن الباك جراوند تبعك your childhood your upbringing. does it يعني في شيء بوقتها أصلا triggered هيدا الباشن أصلا
هلا ما
قبل
هلا
هيدا الإيفنت.
بيي كان يحب الفوتوغرافي بس انه مصور سنتين ثلاثه بحياته. My older brother Kaman did a few photography trips, but there was nothing in my background
Mm.
that really prepared me to be a photographer. I'm surprised myself. I have a economics and mathematics undergrad. I have an MBA in finance. I work in New York for 7 8 years in finance. I run a medical company and ما في شيء
Mm.
that basically links me to photography. But once I discovered this passion for photography, and it was love at first sight with the camera, I became super motivated. I read books, I did workshops, I met with other photographers. So I learned about photography, and the more I learned about it, the more I loved it. But there is nothing in my background that, except the love of nature
Mm.
that I've had from day one, the love of animals.
من وقت ما بلشت did you face any objection in your family or direct environment إنه ما بعرف you have maybe dangerous trips or في شيء إنه لا يا ميشيل شو عم تعمل؟
لا يا ميشيل شو عم تعمل؟ I hear it
come
till
on you
today.
have your business
لا هي مش غير
وين
بزنس كله
رايح؟
خايف انه
يصير لك
يصير
شيء؟
لي شيء. بس it's not really the case لانه I mean of course it's dangerous بس انه I don't think about it. بس ايه في objections مش انه ليه عم تعمل photography لانه الناس معودين انه ميشيل does what he wants.
Mm.
بس objection من my brothers and my close friends انه انتبه. So I solved this by taking some of my close friends with me to some of the trips.
تتريحهم.
لا انت هلا they all want to come انه لا بس في بس هيدا بس it's not more dangerous than anything
Mm.
else. يعني عايشين بلبنان باخر النهار انه
صح.
كنا متنا multiple اوكي كل سنتين ثلاثه في شيء كنا متنا فيه يعني. So
Um, when you started photography قلت لي it was very obvious at start إنه it's gonna be wildlife
mm.
photography. Why not portraits? Why not people? don't you like that ولا مرة حسيت إنه عبالك ما بعرف إنه بدل ما تصور I don't know your cats أو animals أو شيء إنه portraits
راح جاوبك
إيه
وانت draw your own conclusions. I believe that to be a good photographer or something you have to love what you photograph.
امم
So that's why I photograph nature.
يعني you have
So,
such a
yeah.
deception from
No,
people
not
and
this,
mankind
not
يعني
deception. No, no, no. I'm someone who's very social. I have a lot of friends. I'm very close. Actually, my close friends are my support system.
مم.
As I'm not married, I don't have kids. The support system are my close friends, are my family. But today, I feel much more inspired by a tiger, a lion, a great white shark, a polar bear than I am by a human. I know, really.
wow
No,
wow
truly.
مم.
And I find them fascinating. I find them totally misunderstood. And there's one more advantage. ما بيسألوني بآخر الشوط can we see the photos. And every time I took photos of my friends, please فرجينا الصور. But hey, I don't have this with the animals. No, but really, I love nature. But then, frankly, today, for people to be involved in trying to save nature, people have to see what we're losing.
صح
So my mission is to go to these places that are absolutely beautiful, bring photos and show them to people with the hope that when they realize how beautiful it is, they will fight
to
to
draw attention يعني
draw attention what we're losing. We're
مم.
losing beauty, we're losing amazing things.
كم بلد صرت زاير
كثير ما بعرف.
مش عددهم
لا هلا احنا فينا نعدهم بس انه a few. But
كيف
sometimes I go back to the same country many times. لأنه I'm not going to go. أنا my photography مش إنه أصور البلد. My photography is taking certain, not even the animal. My
how
goal
do you
my goal
exactly
is
how
not
do
to my goal is not to take the animal. مش إنه I already went 10 times to take photos of lions وخلاص.
مم.
My photo is to try to take the animal in the perfect light, perfect position, perfect mood, perfect angle. So sometimes it takes 10 trips to do this. So the
wow.
goal is to really capture a moment with a particular animal in a particular place.
بس بتكون على باز انت نقيت مثلا البلد بدي اروح لهونيك وبشوف شو فيه وبصور
No,
whatever
no,
comes up I
no, no,
photograph
no.
او
Choose the animal.
you choose the animal
Yeah. يعني, and it was very funny because we always joke because I have a few very good friends that are also wildlife photographers. They always make fun of me because usually wildlife photographers are not as structured as I am. They're
mm.
they go with the flow more than me,
Mm.
and I'm very OCD. So before I go to a trip, I have a list in my mind of things I want to do. Like exactly, an example. I'm going to India in June, in January to photograph tigers. The place I'm going to has a lot of forest. I'm going in January, so it's gonna be cold in the morning. Therefore, mist, buya,
Mm.
وغطيطة. So the photo I'm picturing is a tiger walking out of the forest in mist.
Yes.
So they all make fun of me because never in my 20 years was I able to photograph what I was planning to photograph. It's nature.
Mhm.
بآخر النهار, you want to photograph a tiger, but you never get what you want. You get other things that are equally beautiful. But the beauty about nature, it doesn't really deliver what you want it to deliver. You go and you take whatever is being served to you.
بتضلك persistent لتوصل للصورة اللي بدك إياها أو لا
No,
not necessarily
no, it's impossible.
whatever
It's
nature
nature.
delivers to you يعني.
Nature delivers, and I have to be here at the right
Mm.
moment with the right technique and the right frame of mind to maximize the photo based on what nature delivered.
وكل التريبس بتكون أنت مقررهم أو حدا بأوقات you're asked to let's say we
No,
want حدا
no,
I
no,
don't know
I decide.
for a
I decide.
magazine or
I don't work with magazines. I do my own things.
for a show for a, I'm not
I
عارف.
do my own shows. So based on what I want in the show, I decide. Of
So
course, I
you
talk
lead
to people. I usually, when I go with friends, no, I know, yeah, it's not a matter of leading. I know more about this than many people because I've been doing this for 20 years. So it's easier for me to decide where I want to go, شو بدي أعمل, what animal, what is a good season, what is a good place. It's really, and it's not only location, it's location and season.
mm. um, كنا عم نحكي إنه you've visited lots of countries and you've been in sometimes the same country كذا مرة.
Mm.
من كل هالبلدان اللي رحت عليها which one أنت do you think is the most إذا بدك focused on wildlife conservation أو في structures أو applied laws to
Brazil, probably.
preserve هيدا
I was impressed
الwildlife
by Brazil.
برازيل
Yeah. My answer is not going to be US or France or Europe. هلا, I went to Brazil five
because of the
times.
Amazon and the
I
laws.
went to Brazil 5 times with Pantanal, which is the wetland next to the Amazon.
Mm.
I think Pantanal is like 200,000 square kilometer. Amazon is 7 million, 8 million. It's a very
Mm.
small
Mm.
place. And I was impressed by the discipline they have. I just saw the outside. I'm not sure. I don't know how good they are in conservation. But what I saw based on the jaguar population, how the jaguars are interacting with boats, and they're not afraid, they're protected. I think Brazil is quite good at this. And everyone, all these countries are
يعني
trying to
بتحس هي
implement laws.
population إيه بس population يمكن بتكون عندها they acquired a habit of living with these animals and endangered species بلا ما يأذون.
It's all a win-win situation. You cannot impose every time people try to impose a top-down approach. يعني نحن,
Mm.
we are a huge NGO. We're here because people are mean and people are killing tigers. We're here to protect tigers. It doesn't work because the people who are killing tigers usually don't have enough money to feed their families. So they look at the tiger as a way to make money for their families. So the way to do this, and I've been to multiple countries, and the only places where this works is when the local population sees the advantage of having people like me, having tourists come in and actually take photos and pay a lot of money, big part of which will go to the local population to photograph the animal.
So
And
it's all
today,
about education.
it's all about education. It's all about involving the local community.
صح.
I mean, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the local community as well. These people, an example, India, uh, tigers. There's a huge issue with tigers. Tigers today can be sold for up to 100, $200,000 in spare parts because they kill the tiger and they sell, all the parts of the tigers for stupid traditional medicine that doesn't work. Uh, A villager leads a poacher to the tiger. The villager goes to jail, but the villager made $15,000 that
Mm.
will feed his family for the next 15 years. So you need to find a solution where A, you punish demand, don't try to cut supply, punish demand, make it illegal to get wild animal or parts of members or like killing tigers for traditional medicine, make ivory illegal, make tiger bones illegal, and also find a way that the local
Alternatives.
population understands that because when there is poaching, the local population never really profits. It's the poaching and the middleman and the client. Find a way that this population actually benefits from the presence of
يكون عنده alternative resources يعني
لا بخلي
ما يكون
هالانيمال
أصلا
to be a
بحاجة.
resource. حكيت عن نشرط شوي بس
Mm.
I want to
It's
give you
fine,
one
it's
example.
fine.
Um, polar bear hunting is allowed in Canada. Okay, there's one place in Canada. Yeah, you can hunt. You can get a permit to hunt the polar bear in Canada.
What do you do with a polar bear?
Skin, whatever, some stupid
Fur?
thing, fur, skin, anyway. But no, the local population used to kill polar bears for their own food.
Mm.
So the Canadian government allowed the local population to kill a certain number of polar bears, and given that men are greedy, men, I'm including men and women, are greedy, the local population sells the permit to a broker that sells it to some rich idiot who goes and hunt polar bears. Anyway, one town in Canada called Churchill refused to make polar bear hunting legal. They said no, because they realized that the value of a polar bear alive, one living polar bear, brings to the community about $1 million. Because they have idiots like me who pay fortunes to go all the way to Churchill uh,
And take a photo of a
and take
polar
a
bear.
photo of a polar bear and pay a fortune to go there.
Ah.
And this money is going to trickle down to the population much more than if you start killing polar bears, these polar bears are going to be afraid of humans. So
وما حدا رح يروح على تشرشل.
لا no رح يروحوا على Churchill بس polar bears are gonna it's gonna be much harder to photograph them. In Churchill, literally, we had polar bears 5 meters away from us, and they're not afraid of us. They're usually animals that are afraid of people. So anyway, so this is one way of conservation is making sure the local population actually is
benefiting
benefits
from
yeah,
the
even
animals هن بعضهم
absolutely
عايشين يعني.
exactly. So this was a little detour.
Can you share ما زالك عم تحكي عن هول detours and you're giving us examples. The most إذا بدك striking memory أو شيء صاير معك a challenge صار يعني something that was very challenging.
Challenge or striking
هيك
memory?
طب both.
Both. Challenge was trying to photograph a snow leopard.
Okay.
Trip, 2 trips so
When?
far, Himalayas. Just 2 trips so far. I had one amazing photo in about 30 days of being in the Himalayas. One photo. It's very far, but it's amazing because it shows the huge mountain. It was a granite face, and the snow leopard just climbing on it. So beautiful photo. But it was very challenging because it's high in altitude. It's difficult. I'm afraid of heights also. So I was finding myself in situations that I was like, why am I here? And so this was very challenging.
طيب شو الايموشنال ريورد اللي بتكون عم بتحسه لما تاخد هيك شوت؟
I want
It must
more.
be it must be amazing
Yeah,
يعني
I look at the shot and I start analyzing the shot and I should have done this, that wrong. So it's a,
اكستاز
I
يعني
never excess. I look at my shots and I always destroy my shots.
عن جد.
إيه إنه هيدا beautiful shot بس يا ريت I used a lower shutter speed, a higher shutter opening. I should have taken a different angle, used a different camera. Anyway, so this was the most challenging was probably
ليه
Himalayas.
قاطع على حالك
Yeah,
يعني؟
this is, but it's fun. The most challenging was probably Himalayas. The most rewarding was in Brazil. Basically, we were on the river because in Brazil, in the Pantanal, where I go, all the photography happens in boats, in small boats on the river. We were on the river and we receive a call. We have wireless جهاز.
إيه.
Right. We receive a call from another boat telling us there is a jaguar and her cub on the beach on the river. Uh, Open water, beautiful. So usually when you have a mother and a cub, it's important. So we go. As we're going, we see 20 boats leaving because there were about no 15 boats leaving because apparently the mother and the cub just went back
والله.
into the forest. So we sit with Wanderley, was the boat driver, and another photographer was with me, and we decided that okay, 15 boats, which is a lot of boats. The mother and the cub probably got bothered. Now there are no more boats, so maybe anyway, it's beautiful light. It's 5 p.m. We're not gonna
Sundown.
go. We're not gonna go somewhere else. Let's go and wait. So we wait. 10 minutes later, we hear something going in the water. We see the mother and the cub swimming with something in between. They go out of the water, and we realize that actually the mother had hunted anaconda. But the two major animals of South America, the two icons, are the anaconda and the jaguar. So the mom had killed the anaconda and was teaching her cub not to start eating before they were actually hiding, because there are many males jaguar in the area who would see something like this, kill the cub, and steal the anaconda. So we've watched for about 2 minutes the most incredible scene. The photo won an award, by the way. The most incredible scene of the mom and the cub trying to eat the anaconda, the mother pulling it away from him until they go into safety. This was like amazing. Plus, there were no other boats. All the boats had left. I came back to camp with a photo that no one had before, so my ego was was obviously very very happy. So this was one of my best moments.
بالقليل you were satisfied with the picture هالمرة.
لا, I saw a lot
كمان
of
لا.
things. لا, it was a great photo. So, and I have many moments like this, but this is
مهم.
like one moment I can think of right
مهم.
now.
مهم. أم، كنا عم نحكي ما بعرف إذا قبل ما نصور إنه لا we had started that you're usually not a patient person.
No,
photography was your pacifier. لكن أكيد to take photos in wildlife you need lots of patience
even me.
and lots of persistence. How does it affect you mentally أو كيف بتفوت أنت mentally بهيدا المود يعني؟
The camera gives me a purpose. I always need a purpose in life, which is totally delusional because there's no grand purpose except
مم.
enjoy life. But I always need a purpose in life, and the camera gives me a purpose. And basically, I wait for the moment that because I'm very competitive,
مم.
I try to take the photo that no one was able to take before me. So this is how the whole mental thing works.
And how do you handle إذا صار شيء unpredictable معك؟ لأنه basically you can never really predict شو
No,
بتصير
no,
in
of course not.
wildlife.
طب بيصير unpredictable. شو بده يصير مثلا؟ انه
What's the worst unpredictable thing
the
صارت
worst that
معك؟
happened to me is 2 weeks in South Africa without photos. I was going for sharks. Or 10 days, 15 days, the Himalaya, my first trip without photos. But aside from this, I never felt in danger.
Hmm.
These animals basically leave them alone, they will leave us alone.
Maybe not endangered by the animal itself بس بركي شيء بالlandscape ما بعرف weather conditions أو
I'm usually
ما
when I
بعرف
go on these
risk of
trips,
falling أو
when I
ما
go on these
بعرف.
trips, I'm afraid of two things. I see small planes because we take a lot of small planes between cities, and these are usually not very well
Insecure.
maintained. And وتاني شيء actually three things. No, two things. No, snakes and scorpions and spiders, not really, because you're careful. And sometimes these countries go through cities, big cities that are not very safe in terms of gangs and stuff like this. I'm mostly afraid of the human element, but the animals, no, not really.
This is very interesting.
Nothing ever happened to me. Yes, of course, I had many like close encounters, and a couple of times they were not. I was not very comfortable, but it was my fault in both cases, or our fault as humans. But usually, no, I'm very comfortable around them. I'm going now in November. I'm going to shoot gorillas
Gorillas. Where?
in Uganda. I have zero fear. I mean, I'm gonna be in front of a 1,000 pound or 1,500 pound ape with no protection, and I know he's not gonna harm me.
يعني إذا بدك العالم رح تفكر إنه wild life is dangerous. أنت عم تيجي تقول إنه it's the man
Yeah,
أو
or the plane.
or the plane
Yeah,
that is
or
more
the
dangerous.
disease. You need to follow the rules of the animals.
And respect.
And how do I know how to follow their rules? Because I never go without a guide, and the guide has lived her or his life, all his or her life with the animals, so they know exactly. No, so I never felt, maybe I get eaten one day, but so far I've never felt, in any danger.
طب it's physically demanding لا؟
Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Do you need sometimes to prepare yourself physically؟ ما بعرف إذا you're shooting for many weeks ما بعرف
I
شي محل كتير ساقعة أو في شي preparation أنت بتعملها ولا لا؟
I never really need to prepare specifically for a trip, but I usually stay fit because the camera is, first of all, the weight of the cameras. One of my big lenses is like, I'm carrying 10 kilos like this, so it's exhausting. My back is killed for like 2 weeks. I'm dead. But so no, there's no specific preparation for any particular trip. When it's very cold, just you need to make sure you have the good gear. And and I like cold, by the way. I don't like heat, but I don't mind cold at all.
Okay, what was the longest wait؟ أكثر مرة نطرت للشوت
2 weeks in the Himalayas with zero
هيدي؟
sighting. We would, and these are the worst conditions in terms of accommodations. This was probably my most difficult trip. It was right before Corona, January 2019. Okay, in the Himalayas, it was freezing, it was cold. The accommodations were a disaster. And when I say disaster, I mean a disaster. And we didn't see any leopard for 2 weeks. So this was probably the most difficult. Well,
هيدي
South Africa, another one. We went for shark. We saw many sharks, but not what I wanted. So I came back with no photos.
لكن ما فيك تقول إنه في one animal هو الأكثر شي صعب تصوره.
It's a snow leopard.
The snow
Yeah.
leopard.
And probably the Siberian tiger, but I haven't tried. But snow leopard is probably the most difficult.
It's on your list.
Snow leopard I have. I
لا
already. Siberian
Siberian
tiger, I'm
tiger.
not sure where though. Yes, it is on my list, but I'm not sure where I want to go. It's mostly in Russia, but right now, it's a bit complicated to go there. So, but I will go. I want to go. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna get a photo of
So this is your
Siberian
dream
tiger.
shot, your dream animal, let's say.
I have.
أو شو إيش what is هيك the target يعني
There's
الحيوان اللي بعد عن جد كتير عبالك تصوره and you still haven't.
Snow leopard.
The snow
I have a
leopard.
couple photos, but I want more. Siberian tiger, definitely. Um, there's a very cute and aggressive animal called the Pallas cat.
Hmm.
It's probably gonna be either in Mongolia or in the Himalayas. You should need to Google Pallas cat. Pallas apostrophe. It's a small cat that looks adorable but super aggressive.
Even for humans
He's
أو
too
لا
small to harm
to
us. I
harm.
think this is probably God put in the most furry and cute animal, the most aggressive personality. And haram, Anjad, he's super aggressive, but I'm sure he could
مش قد
harm.
حجمه يعني.
Exactly, but he's very cute. So this and the Siberian tiger probably. Siberian tiger is probably my like goal. And I'm probably yeah no right now Siberian tiger. I haven't planned any trip, but I will.
Okay. Um, my next question يمكن حكينا عنها أول ما فتت بالintroduction إنه we know that you are very focused on let's say on charities, on awareness, on wildlife conservation and so on. ليش هيدا البيربس وليش يعني how why does why is it so important for you actually?
Which part?
Wildlife conservation. Can you tell us more for people who are not really إذا بدك don't really think about it as a priority, who worry about أكيد a thousand other problems on a daily basis
And
and
it's
so on,
understandable.
and it's
It's
understandable
totally
صح.
understandable. And actually, when I did my exhibit, I did an exhibition about a year ago in Beirut, year and a half ago in Beirut, at Dar al-Nimr. All the proceeds went to the Cancer Support Fund
صح.
at the UB.
This is right.
People were telling me, and I got the question very often, that today people in Lebanon have problems feeding their kids and educating their kids. Why would they care about nature and wildlife? Totally understand. I'm lucky enough to have been able to weather the storm. Akit, we all lost a lot of money, but we recovered. And I know that many people were not that lucky. But there is no point in having your kids educated and having a career if the world is missing something.
Mm.
We also need to look at the fact that a world without nature is not a world.
If you're ruining your own habitat, yes.
There's no planet B. We are here. I mean, there's nothing else. I know that you're not going to see a tiger in your life because not everyone's going to go and travel. And by the way, I'm totally against, going to a zoo.
ساعتها ما زلنا عم نحكي إنه it's not top bottom, it's bottom up.
Hmm,
So you need to educate people.
of course.
معقول مثلا تحط انت efforts بشي NGO او project او program implemented on the ground, let's say بلبنان, to educate people. ما بعرف مثلا in the mountains هول الهيناز او اللانكس الواوية وكذا او I don't know. يعني نحن الفونا تبعنا يمكن منا that diverse and
It is
rich.
diverse, actually. No,
يمكن
you don't have a lot of big predators, but we
ايه
have a
not
lot.
lots of
Eh,
big predators exactly. بس
Listen, first
بس
of all, I,
العالم منا واعية ان فات انه لازم هول نهتم فيهم ولازم انه ما نعمر عشوائيا وين ما كان
I am already,
are you planning to go
no,
into
I'm
that?
already in an NGO called Animals Lebanon, and we help a lot, whether it's domestic animals or animals in captivity. Now for example, now we just rescued 6 baboons 3, 4 years ago, and they're going next year, probably this year, to a sanctuary in called Monkey World in the UK. So we're involved in this. بس أنا my
This is
role
animal rescue, I mean.
بس أنا my
مش
role as a photographer,
educating the
I'm gonna forget my role as a business person. My role as a photographer is not to
Mm.
to set up an NGO because I don't know how to do this, and frankly, I don't have the time. My role is to provide this NGO with the photos required and with the help required, whether it's financially or by photos or by introducing them to other people in the world to achieve this goal. So if someone wants to set up an NGO, please,
to
and I'm
raise
sure there are quite of them, there are quite a few of them in Lebanon. I will help, but me setting up an NGO, it's not my job.
okay.
It's not my job. I don't
But
know how
you
to do
but
this.
you're all in helping out to
Of
raise
course,
awareness
yes,
يعني.
yes, yes. I don't have an issue with this. I can provide my photography. I can provide my time, but someone has to have. And there are many NGOs on the ground helping.
مثلا programs انه presenting هدول الissues وهدول او doing awareness campaigns maybe in schools.
I am. I've already done a few talks in LAU,
Exactly. Schools and
and
universities.
I did only LAU, and I'm talking to AUB to do a talk. It's gonna be mostly about photography,
Hmm.
and people will look at photography, and it goes to, and there's a measure of conservation. But I wouldn't be against also doing talks in schools. So this is something I'm also willing to do. But again, I need to be approached by people, and I'll do the talk. But I don't have the knowledge to know what school, where, how. So yes, I will do it. Someone has to organize the whole thing, and
Okay,
I'll
so
be part of it.
this is a public call to all
Absolutely. It
schools.
is a public code. Not to all schools, obviously, because I don't have time, 24 hours in a day, but I would I'd be more than happy to actually do talks in schools.
Okay, I think this is very very
Yeah.
important.
But
يعني
someone has
الواحد
to do it.
يبلش بالأولاد and to
Someone
raise
has,
awareness لأنه هول
they are the next
الانسيدنتس
generation.
اللي عم نشوفها آخر فترة أصلا يلي especially بلبنان هول اللي بيصيروا يقتلوا ويشنقوا ويحرقوا حيوانات وكلاب
My,
وثعلانات
my, my, my talk
يعني
is going to be about photography.
I know, but when you talk about photography, you're gonna raise awareness about the
But we can do a joint talk
importance
with
of.
Animal Zabanan.
Uh,
I can organize a joint talk where my part of the talk be photography and their part of the talk, their part, our part, because I'm on the board with them, will be to talk about conservation and awareness and not torturing animals and not killing animals. I mean, I don't have an issue about people eat meat. It's fine. I'm not vegan, and it's okay. And I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but it's all a matter of
equilibrium.
moderation and equilibrium. Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, the next generation should sue us, not only in Lebanon, worldwide, because we've done such a mess with the planet that we've destroyed all, we've
Overconsumption.
destroyed their future. If things keep on going like this, I'm not talking about Lebanon where we totally destroyed their future, but worldwide today, our generation did so much harm to the planet,
True.
and the next generation should actually one day will hate us for this.
True. Um, while preparing for this podcast معك كان في سؤال
Hmm.
هاني كان كتير عباله يسألك إياه.
ايش
Who
هو؟
was لا very easy. Who was your mentor? Who inspired you?
Jonathan Scott.
Who is?
Okay, he was not by he's not the one who inspired me. He's the one who mentored me. Okay, my first trip or second trip actually, wildlife photography was in India, and I met in India a gentleman, English gentleman, and his wife, Jonathan and Angie Scott, who are extremely well-known wildlife photographers. She's a photographer. He's a BBC presenter. They had a show on BBC called Big Cat Diaries, and I became very good friend with Jonathan. And I did my first trip with Jonathan right after this trip to India. We went to Kenya together. We became very good friends, and he basically taught me all the non-technical part about wildlife photography, about conservation, about dealing with the animals, about. So he's a very dear friend of mine, and he's also my mentor.
Okay.
And you can Google him, Jonathan Scott. He has a great
Scott, we will.
on Instagram. They're called their page, the Big Cat People. He's known in Kenya as the Big Cat Man because he spent all his life. Yeah, actually, his story is amazing. When he was 20 years, when he was 20, they went down with with a few friends from England, from the UK. They drove all the way down to South Africa. They had bought a truck. On the way back up, they went through Kenya. He told his friend one day, "Take the truck. I'm staying." And this is how he started his amazing career as a BBC presenter, as a photographer. These are these people are real inspirations.
Does he ever visit you in Lebanon?
I'm trying to.
ها؟ بعد ما
um,
تجيب لهون؟
he's always in Kenya. He's always traveling all over the world. So I'm trying to bring him one day
If
here.
he ever comes,
Hey, we'll get him on the podcast.
we
Don't
get him on
worry.
season 2.
تكرم عينك.
Um,
And I
كان
know that when you want something, you'll get it. So راح أعرفك عليه, by the way.
okay. It's a
Yeah,
promise.
I will. خلاص. I
Okay.
will talk to him.
دي فيك تحكي لنا شوي because صراحة I have absolutely no idea how does a photo end up on a magazine cover. شو البروسس؟
I had a few
You've been
actually.
featured in
And I
many
just got a
صح.
cover about 2 months ago on the main East Africa Safari magazine. I had a cover page on them.
Hmm.
This photo
They
won.
approach you كيف
No, what
بتصير
happened actually, I sent this photo to a very big
competition.
competition in Africa called the Benjamin Baka photography. Benjamin is a great, conservationist in Africa. He did amazing work. So for me, it was a huge honor to be one of the selected photos. I didn't win the competition. I was highly commended. And basically, what happened, this magazine, Swara, which is one of the biggest magazine in Africa for safari, from the competition chose my photo, and
And
I
selected it for the
for the
cover.
cover. Yeah, it happens. I mean, I've had a few
Okay.
covers, so it's usually through competitions.
طب صراحة just curiosity. Is it financially
No, 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 of
beneficial
course
ولا
not.
لا? You don't get
No,
anything
no,
for
of
it.
course not.
It's just visibility
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't make money like this. I mean,
hmm.
I had a few photos published in Nat Geo Traveler and magazines like this. Then I got paid like 60 euros or 70 euros for the photos. Ridiculous.
Okay.
They don't, but these big magazines that are in big trouble, by the way, because no one reads magazines anymore, don't pay
True.
for content. Because seriously, a lot of these photos actually are average photos in the magazine. They're more reporting as opposed to artistic photos. So they're not going to pay a lot of money for a photo because they know that the public is not going to really, it's not going to make a huge difference for their readership to have an amazing photo versus a normal photo.
بركي هون it's interesting to highlight إنه قديش social media and everyone has this easy access إنه
Everyone
you
is a
have
photographer.
as a photographer you can take any shoot وتصور وتحطها it might يعني الواحد فيكون مزوق ويحط صورة حلوة let's say بس إنه يمكن as a photographer you would have a million remarks or comments عليها بس إنه this is so accessible nowadays
Which is good because it's part of my message. My message is to show as many people as possible what we're losing. No, it's okay if I don't get the engagement we used to get before because a lot of people are seeing a lot of stuff. But I'm hoping that one day one photo will strike a nerve in one kid in southern South Africa or in southern Australia, and this kid who's going to be motivated by photography is gonna do something that will
Will
save
have an
someone.
incredible path مثلا
Yes,
يصير
I know the probability of this is very low, but no, why not? The more my photos are out there, the more this might happen.
مم.
Mine and other wildlife photographers, only one among many others.
in Lebanon في غيرك؟
ما بعرف
ما
ما
بعرف.
بعرف that probably ما بعرف. In the Middle East I caught a few good ones actually.
because يمكن we see lots of people أكتر shooting landscapes وأكتر شيء
And
هلا Lebanon tourism و beautiful Lebanon
I
وهيك
can't think of
أكتر
a wildlife
landscapes.
photographer in Lebanon, but in Kuwait and in Dubai, in Emirates and in UAE وسعودية في quite a few good ones.
if you can tell us إذا في بعدين ناس بيعرفوا أكتر in photography
Mm,
يعني technically what is the equipment that you use for wildlife photography is
mm,
different from what you can use for another type of photography مثلا
okay.
the tools that you need the software بركي software techniques بعدين can you tell us more about this
Okay, equipment I use Canon regular. I mean, no, normal camera. I'm not promoting Canon, but
لا لا بس
it's,
حدا
it's, it's an
عباله
amazing,
يصير وايلد
it's
لايف
an amazing
فوتوغرافر
camera.
شو بيروح بيشتري
ما في كانون اليوم you have Canon, Nikon, Canon,
okay
Nikon, and Sony.
okay
Sony is really also catching up with the two. But then I started with Canon, so for me it's impossible to switch. And I know the menu of my camera by heart. I can watch a tiger, have my coffee, and do the settings at the same time. So خلاص, I know the camera. It's like an extension of my arm. I know the menu by heart. But I have all the big lenses. Today, to switch a big lens from Canon to Nikon is going to be a fortune. So, خلاص, I'm stuck with Canon, and I'm very happy with that. That's it. I have a camera and lenses. I usually use three lenses when I travel. The biggest is the 800 millimeter, then 500 millimeter, then 70 to 200. And
okay
depending on the trips, like I was in Iceland, the most one I did mostly landscape in Iceland. The one I use the most is the 70-200. In Pantanal, when I do Jaguars, it's either the 500 or the 800. Gorillaz will probably be 70-200. So depending on the trip, I know which lens I'm gonna use. Otherwise, no. Software, no. There's very little
that's it.
Photoshop done in the.
exactly طب أنا سؤالي هو
I remove dust spots, and the cameras by the end of the trip are filthy. So there's always the dust on the sensor. So I remove dust spot. I do some sharpening, some color correction, but like a really minimal work.
because I was interested in knowing إذا بدك أنت شو رأيك when you modify إذا بدك أو you enhance images أو تغير فيهم بعدين how much it might affect the authenticity of the image
What do you mean by
of
enhance? Is enhancing the color and the
mild
exposure? It's
corrections it's
normal.
fine
No,
yeah
first of all, you never have the perfect setting when in the wild because if you have the perfect setting, if you try to you're gonna lose a shot.
مش
So
مثل الفلترز على الفيس اب يعني
exactly. ما تحط له فلتر يبين الاسد بلا شعر مثلا. No, it's not gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna work. So no, basically, you don't approximate, but I'm watching something. The animal goes in the shade. It's a mixture of shade and sun. I'm not gonna go and really get the perfect setting. I know by instinct how much I need to undercompensate or overcompensate. But this obviously, when I get back to home and look at them, the amount of over undercompensation is not perfect. So I need to tweak it a bit on Photoshop. But removing an animal or putting an animal, no, of
لا
course not. There's no, you know, as long as you do just basic correction, like color correction, exposure, and stuff like this, it's fine.
in any case انت you've learned all this by yourself ما
Yes,
هيك ما
yes.
عملت لا
Mm.
workshops لا you
I
studied
did a lot of
photography
online
بلا
workshops. It's not nothing really. I read books. I
any book or reference or resource that you recommend for someone who'd like to go into this
seriously, the first book that someone should read is a manual
the
for
manual
camera. Anjad, people make fun of me, but I spent my first 3 hours reading the manual. At the time, manual was still printed, because we're talking
مم.
about 20 years ago. Because it explains the basic principles.
انا
Anjad,
عندي كاميرا مثلا بس ما بستعملها لانه ما
manual.
بعرف ايه ما بعرف
You need to know the basic principle of what's aperture, what's shutter speed, what's ISO, all these things. You need to learn about all these things and how they all interconnect together. And then just go and shoot.
your advice for
Go and shoot. Take your camera, go everywhere, shoot. I have probably photos of every single cat in Beirut. Every single cat in Beirut I shot. I'm doing an exhibition now. Probably it might include some of the cast I shot in Beirut.
you won هلا شيء
Yeah,
the funny cat comedy cat أو شيء هيك شو كانت
it was great, great competition. Was
it was
the
a funny photo.
wildlife, the pet wildlife award or something like this. And I was the grand winner of this competition. Actually, it was not on cats only; it was only on pets. It was on all pets. So
شو هيدي الصورة تبع
it
black and
was
white cat
it was all over the
اللي
world. I swear, it was. I was in Vanity Fair, People Magazine,
واو
BBC, Fox News, everywhere. وصلت على Fox News Australia. But I don't know how.
واو
So I got a lot of coverage on
طب
this one.
is it your cat
It's
بالقليلة
my
هيدي؟
friend's cat.
Your
A friend's
friend's
of
cat.
mine. So it was a great photo. It was very funny.
Yeah, I
Mm.
loved it. كنت بدي أسألك آخر شيء هيك شوية let's say ما بعرف إذا existential questions ولا
Always
لا
go
يعني
again.
okay
Yeah.
لا um, بين being at the office or being in the wild what هيك where do you feel more comfortable?
Well, I feel very comfortable in the wild,
Both.
but there is also, I was gonna say, there's also a part of me that enjoys the business part. So, in addition to the fact that without the business part, I would not be able to do what I'm doing because photography is expensive and all the revenues, literally 100% of the revenues are donated to some type of charity. So I don't make any money out of it, and on the contrary, it's costing me a lot. Uh, so
This is the perfect hobby يعني when we say hobby it's a hobby it's
well, it's more than a hobby; it's a
more
passion.
it's passion.
So I consider actually it's more than a I think I have two. I basically have two careers.
Huh.
I have a career as a wildlife photographer, and I have a career as a business owner and manager. And the first one allows me to do the second one, and the second one, the photography, allows me to stay sane in the first one. Yeah, it allows me to be very zen and very cool managing my
Balance.
business, despite everything that we went through over the past 4 years in this country. Is the fact that I know that in a month or two or three, I'm going to be in the wild shooting some wild animal or landscape.
This is beautiful. ما بعرف إذا you mentioned this before بس I'd like to ask you again. Is
That's
there an ultimate goal
in terms of what?
in photography, in wildlife
In
photography?
terms of which animal I want to photograph or which
لا قلت لنا شو
ultimate
the
goal
animals that are on your
is
list.
to be able to keep on doing what I'm doing for as long as possible.
Okay, so you don't think that there will be a point where you'll say, okay, I'll just stop. أنا عملت اللي بدي أعمله صورت اللي بدي صوره ورحت محل ما بدي أروح وهلأ خلص بدي
There's so
غير.
many places I want to go to. I already have a list of trips over the next 2 years that are going to take me 5 years to do. Tigers in India, orcas in Argentina, whales in Fiji, snow leopards in the Himalayas again, Siberian tigers. Uh, it will never finish. No, this is, I said my ultimate goal is to be able, A, to afford it financially, B, more importantly, to be able physically to keep on doing this for as long as possible. This is the ultimate goal of my photography today. And of course, win a few prizes along the way, do fundraising, do successful exhibitions. I'm going to do a new book probably in 2 years. Uh,
On.
uh, Wildlife. I mean, the theme is probably to be, which is, by the way, the theme of all my exhibitions now is called Other Nations. Other nations, basically, the whole concept behind it is that humans are a nation and wildlife and tigers and bears are other nations. We are not superior, we are not inferior, we're different. So basically, we're living in parallel. There shouldn't be any, at no point should there be a connection between us.
And no conflict.
No conflict, no nothing. I mean, wildlife is extremely happy to live without us. So this is very important. This is so the whole concept is leave them alone and but that we both live our separate ways.
I was gonna ask you what is your final message that you would like to deliver بس افتكر هلا قلتها.
Final message. Basically, the planet. Okay, many multi.
بدي أقول لك شو أنت أصلا إذا بقول لك l'être humain est le prédateur du monde moderne.
Mm,
أنا كنت
yes, we
حاططها
are.
أساس تبلش فيها بالأول
Okay,
بس.
this is a bit philosophical, I
Mm.
know, but no, we are a predator. Predators have a very important role in nature. It's keeping the balance. If you
The
remove
circle of life.
if you remove the predator from a certain area, the prey will multiply. There won't be enough resource for the prey to survive. They'll die off. So the predator is actually saving the prey by removing the sick, by removing the weak. Not only do they allow the rest to really survive because the resources are limited, but also they make sure that only the strong individuals survive.
Mm.
Humans only fulfill one role: they kill, but they don't maintain a balance. And I'm not talking about killing for food again. It's not realistic at all to pretend that we're all gonna be vegan or vegetarian. The issue I have is poaching. The issue I have is because of the increase of humans and people everywhere, we are taking over the territory. So they have a huge loss of habitat. This is the problem I have. They're going, they're killing, they don't have a habitat, they're dying because they no longer have a habitat. So the humans is basically killing, so fulfill the role of one of the role of the predator, but not to keep the equilibrium, to expand. So basically, we are an expansion
Species.
species, exactly, without any regard for the future.
Mhm.
Because if we keep on expanding, we're gonna be get to a point where we are no longer living in a planet that's as hospitable or as nice as before, because this whole nature is part of us. Anyway, so this is the question answer to the first question. The predator, yes, we are a predator, but we don't maintain the balance.
So your final message?
My fine message. Nature is beautiful. Nature is part of us, and without nature, life would not be worth living. So let's keep on, let's stop destroying nature. Let's look at nature as being an essential part of us. And there's one more message, by the way, and it's something I have tattooed here on my arm. It's our planet too. It's our planet too. It's basically not our planet. It's the planet of every living species on it. So we don't have any more right than the jaguar or leopard or elephant to live here. We all have the same right. So let's cohabitate.
We are a species among others.
We are a species among others, and yes, we might be more intelligent than most species in terms of pure intelligence, but they have many advantages we don't have. They have instinct, they have agility, they have strength that we can't even dream of having. And actually, many of the designs we're doing today are based on the animal world, from wing of planes to running shoes to a lot of other things.
قبل ما أقول لك thank you Michel for being with us today.
You're welcome.
بدي أطلب منك you have a question?
Yeah, I have so
Many
many
questions.
questions.
أنا كان بدي أقول له إنه بليز إنه خدنا معك على شي تريب يعني ما زال فيها
وافق بالدور.
كان نمبر.
كنا هيك في شغله وقتها حكيتك نيلة، كنت بعد عندي هيك كيوريوسيتي اكثر اعرف. تنرجع اول شيء على البرازيل. انا تفاجات لما قلت انه البرازيل بيحافظوا شوي على الليوبار
جاكور.
جاكور، بس فجأة انه البرازيل بس اخر كم سنه هن اكثر ناس عملوا ازيو الامازون.
Hey, but today they elected the president who's pro Amazon.
هذه تعدلت.
No, but I'm بحكي عن people. I'm not even talking about the Amazon. I'm talking about Jaguars.
اوكي بس
Jaguars,
to highlight على هذا الشيء.
Jaguars 20 years ago would be impossible to find because they would see humans, they would run away.
اوكي
Today, when you go to the Pantanal for photography, Jaguars are everywhere. They've adapted very well. They've recovered, of course, are still being killed. But they did such a conservation effort for jaguars that today jaguars are repopulating the Brazilian Pantanal. So that's what I meant by
اوكي يعني هايلايت بس على الجاكور الاكسبيرينس اللي انت عشتها، مش عم نحكي جروسو مودو برازيل.
وبعدين if I'm talking also about cleanliness in nature, the Pantanal is much better than many other places I saw.
اوكي
So you go to the US, of course it's clean, but the US you can kill, again they're introducing laws where you can hunt bears, mountain lions, wolves, and it's we're many countries today don't have conservation laws.
اوكي
Brazil, again, I'm just specifically talking about the jaguars, how
اوكي
jaguars were actually visually introduced, were able to recover as a species.
اوكي. ذكرنا على اخذت اوورد، بس تعطينا لمحه كم اوورد اخذ ان جنرال، وشو هن واحلى وحده مثلا اهم وحده او ما بعرف.
I had a lot of finalist positions, highly commended. In terms of awards, a couple, but the one that I really want, and I'm gonna keep on working to get it, is the Wildlife Photographer of the Year award. I got in second place in one of the categories with the photo of the jaguars and the anaconda. This is my goal today as a photographer, and every wildlife photographer wants to win this award, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year award.
يعني انت اخذت سكند برايز.
I had second prize in one of the categories, في multiple categories.
اه
Took second prize in one of the categories, and I also want. I mean, you have to do one thing about the awards. They're judges, so and they get overwhelmed with photos. So it's extremely hard to actually win these awards because you have 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100,000 photos being sent. But I'm very happy that I've been placed in. I've been,
السكند بدنا هاي
not only this, I've always gotten a lot of finalist, finalist position, final round, finalist.
بحب الشعب
It's nice. عن جد, it's nice. It's really
minimum.
no, you're being compared to the best in the world, and it's nice. It's good recognition. It's just self. There's no monetary award. You just self
هي
satisfaction.
الشعور exactly.
Absolutely.
حتى ذكرت انه you never been into danger بس كمان عم نقرا كنا انه كذا حدا صاروا بالتيم يمكن معك او بالناس اللي كانوا معك انه صار في شيء حادثه
We had, I never.
accident.
We were a couple of times into near danger. ما صار شيء at the end of the day, and the guide was smart enough, and the animal just left. But a couple times, yeah, we got into.
وذكرت انه انه هن انيمال كانوا هيومن ايرور يلي خلوا الانيمال
Okay, I'll give you one example.
Yes.
Alaska, about 7, 8 years ago, a bit more actually, we were in a place called Katmai Bay. It's up in Alaska, in Katmai National Park. You walk there. It's forbidden to hunt grizzly bears, so the bears are extremely comfortable around humans. The guides, when you get there, tells you the law in Alaska prevents you from getting closer to than 20 meters from a bear, but the laws apply to you, not to the bear. And you sit, and the bear sometimes was, بيقرفك. So we had one issue. We were walking, not really paying attention, and the wind was blowing uh, towards us. So the animals couldn't smell. When the animal smells you, he knows you're a human. Humans in this area never killed a bear, so you're not a threat for the animal. So we were walking to, the wind was towards us, so the animal couldn't smell us. And there was a grizzly bear with her cub, which is the most dangerous type of situation because the mother instinct,
Protective.
of course. So she saw us at the last moment. We were literally 4 meters, 3, 4 meters away. She stood up with the most aggressive expression on her face. The baby was like totally innocent on what's going on. And this is the first time I actually saw our guide a bit, not panicking, but uncomfortable. So we just had to go down on the ground, be totally quiet, not move. Basically, the mother just walked away. But this was one of the close encounters.
سؤال رحت على اني عندك بلان مثل ما انت ذكرت رايح اوغندا تتصور
In November.
الغوريلاز. تقريبا قد ايه بتكلف هيك سفره؟
خلينا ما نحكي.
لا بهمك
مش رخيصة.
حشرك.
عن جد حشرك. خليه يكفي مع نايلة. غالي.
كمان في شغله ثانيه قد ايه بتاخذ اهتمام لصحتك يعني اليوم قلت لنا انه جاي تعمل سبور قد ايه بتعطي اهميه لصحتك
مش بس التصوير.
مش التصوير
In general.
In general, you have to.
you have to.
It doesn't mean you're gonna get diseases, بس انه
لا
minimize the risk.
كمان ذكرنا بس شيء عن لبنان ليه بلبنان ما بينعمل دوكيومنتري لانه وقت ينعمل دوكيومنتري انا شخصيا مثلا غرمت يعني انا بخلص شغلي مثلا قبل ما انام بحط ناشونال جيوغرافيك شانل برتاح نفسيتي بترتاح عرفت بس بتحب الحيوانات قد ما حضرت دوكيومنتريز ليه ما بينعمل نحن دوكيومنتريز بلبنان غير الدسكشن انت عم تقول انه كان عم نعمل دسكشن
لازم ينعمل
ليه ما
لا يو بي بعد انا عم جرب
ايه انه ليه ما بنعمل awareness دوكيومنتري بتعطي awareness نحن شو عندنا انيمالز قد ايه فينا نحبهم بتخلق علاقه بيناتنا
someone should انا I'm not a filmographer I'm a photographer only
مثلا اذا ما بينخلق كلوب من بينخلق كلوب ينعرف
في كذا ان جي او في كذا كلوب انه ناس really going for nature in Lebanon في عندنا كثير ان جي اوات المشكله they're under funded وما حدا بيعرف عنه
it's about money يعني
it's about money and organization.
Okay.
And these things should be done by the government, by the way.
Exactly.
هي المشكل
انه نحن اليوم البرايفت سيكتور عن جد انه people criticize the private sector بس عن جد لو ما في private sector بالبلاد ما كان في شيء. انه في كثير private initiatives in conservation كمان بس باخر النهار بيقولوا لنا مثلا انه these people are كأنمي مثلا انه the condition of these animals in a zoo are terrible. Do something about it. What can we do about it? احنا as an NGO we help pass a law في law making animal abuse illegal that passed a few years ago بس نحن will not enforce it. شو بدنا نعمل نحن NGOs? The government should go to this zoo and close it or tell the zoo unless you do I 1 2 3 4 you have to close but it's non-existent obviously.
إذا الدرك ما عندهم بنزين يحطوه بالسيارة ليروحوا على
لا
الزوق.
بس عن جد انه we had a lot of interaction with individuals بالدرك عن جد على سلامتهم.
إيه أكيد.
many of these people بالدرك وبالجيش وبقوى الامن
they are good willing.
ده وبيعملوا انه اليوم في قانون نحن نتشكى حدا مثلا torturing an animal or horse they intervene بيوقفوه. These are initiatives taken by the Darak and أو بالجيش on the person level and they're doing an amazing job. But there should be a bigger initiative. لا
support financial
100% رح يكون مثلا في كذا زو بلبنان لازم يتسكروا. No, sorry بتروح you go see the lion he's sitting in a 2x2 or 3x3 cage on concrete floor. It's criminal. بس نحن شو بدنا نعمل إذا عندنا زلمة؟ We're not the government should do these things should go close these places and do awareness campaign on nature.
بعد عندي two question.
Hey, go ahead.
الاكزيبيشن اللي بتعملهم how can people follow you to know where you are going exhibition بلبنان او worldwide
On my Instagram page Michel underscore Zoghzoghi.
اوكي
It's
انا هون ذكرت رح تعمل كذا exhibition
عامل وحدة
Michel usually answers on Instagram.
and if I don't answer the first and second and third, the fourth I will answer.
keep on keep on sending.
No, بس I am doing an exhibition in New York October 15 قلت لك وبيروت December 7 but I will put all the details on my page.
اذا بدنا انا ان شاء الله بلبنان بروح اشوفك كمان هيك فانا نعرفك
No, definitely the exhibition is going to be for at least for almost a month يعني من December 7 بعتقد ل end of December.
بس وين؟
Rebirth بيروت.
اوكي كمان شغله ثانيه بهمني اسالك اياها وقت يروحوا يصوروا فوتوغراف بالوايلد لايف يوجوالي اوقات بنشوفهم سيزون هول سيزون يعني بيصوروه بالخريف بالربيع بالشتاء بالثلج they really stay 1 year shooting in animal.
Oh, there are people who stay for months at a time. Yeah, definitely.
انت ما بتروح تعمل اذا بدك فولو اب انت بتروح تصور شوتينج بس
لا.
ما بتعمل دوكيومنتري عن
No. I'm all about capturing a moment. I'm not about capturing the life of an animal that is much better done with the film crew. And to answer the question, why don't I do film? Two reasons. أول شيء, I don't know how to do film. It's very complicated and very technical. And two, as a photographer, I can be hopefully among the very best, the very good ones. You know, I can win prizes because it doesn't require the same amount of money, although it is expensive, but it's nothing compared to big film crews. And when they're shooting a BBC or Planet Earth or Nat Geo documentary, you talk about millions of dollars. Big productions. So I cannot compete with this. So that's why, you know.
Can someone join your trip or?
Usually I go with friends, and I'm going to tell you why I go with friends. I used to go alone because I'm a loner in general on these trips. And then after 15 years, I realized two things. أول شيء, this is amazing nature. So haram not to have friends, people that are close to me to get to see it. This is the selfless reason. The selfish reason is after going 7, 8, 9 times to the same place, no matter how beautiful the place is, you start losing this childlike awe and spark. And خلاص, you know, I've seen Jaguars 7 times. The 8th time, I know it's beautiful, but it's a Jaguar. So when I take friends with me and I see their reaction, it reminds me of how beautiful these places are. But yes, I do take friends, but I read them their bill of rights before the before the trip.
وين اسمي قبل اسمك؟
انه ما بدي اسمع صوتك من 5 الصبح لل10 الصبح. من 5 بعد الظهر ل7 شيء which are the good times for photography. If you have any complaints, I'm not your tour guide. Go complain to the camp manager. And then بس لا, we have a lot of we have great time. I have 4 friends who come with me, you know, كل مرة حدا, and they have the best time. It's really fun to go on this trip somewhere.
بدنا الكتب تبعك
هبعت لك اياهم.
ضروري
لا هبعت لك اياهم as a gift اكيد. الجمعة تيجي هلا الجمعة تيجي ببعتهم.
نحن زاد عندك كمان avec plaisir ميشيل.
انا بالحزمية whenever you want just give me a call and stop by.
Thank you انا انبسطت.
All right. سؤال. بعد الساعة.
أنا اشتغلت ساعة على الأقل عم نصور.
Ça va. It was very enjoyable by the way.
Thank you أنا كمان.
Thanks.
غريب السؤال.
الله يسترك كمان.
بالعادة الإنسان في صوت براسه، أنا عم بحكيك هلا في صوت براسي. وقت أروح مفرح بكامس أنا فترات انعزل فيها.
إيه.
في وقت ببين قصص، بيختفي قصص بحياتي، concepts, structures كذا. أنت عملتها 180 كوربريت لايف، عيش بالسوسايتي، وجيت كوميك بسميه انا.
ايه بس I travel between both.
بس
ايه
اول ما انت عم تختبره وتلاقيك حالك اول مره بهالسيتنج، هل stillness هل silence فرجيك شيء؟
It's these trips are for me like meditation.
It's like meditation.
It is meditation أكيد. لما تكون قاعد sitting for 10 hours in a row in a small boat on the Pantanal on the Cuyaba River خلاص إنه you're disconnected. It's like the world was هونيك العالم كانت هيك من 2000 سنة من مليون سنة من 10 سنة بعدها ذاتها ما غيرت. So definitely it puts everything in perspective. No, we're running the whole day. Basically, we're attaching too much importance to certain things and not enough to others.
أنا بفتكر the impression I have sometimes هلا أكيد on a different scale يعني بس sometimes you realize how small you are in this
Well,
planet
significant, of
or
course.
insignificant you are
That's a good feeling.
on the
Yeah, it's a very good
on
feeling.
the
Yeah.
planet or
I
in
wish
the
I wish
universe.
more people had this feeling,
يعني
especially our politicians.
things are so much bigger يعني إنه أنت قد إيه عن جد insignificant وبتعطي لحالك أهمية
Irrelevant
أكثر
كمان.
بكتير
مش
irrelevant.
insignificant بس
Exactly.
irrelevant.
Exactly. إيه.
وعوالم كمان الحاجات. في سؤال كتير كتير مؤثر فيه لديفيد
Attenborough.
شو
By the way, I would love to be like him at 97.
شو الله
94 or 97.
97 98 كمان بعد
97 he's doing a new documentary now. This is my ultimate dream in life.
He's
To
my
be able at the age of 97 to still have the passion,
exactly
determination and spark that he still has.
Yes.
And health of course.
هلا اني اخر دوكيومنتري اللي عمله على نتفليكس نزله وقت حكي عن هو شو بشوف انه in 50 years 80 years الحياه مبطل مفروض يعني أنا حسب هي الاكسبيرينس. Do you agree؟
What حياة you mean wildlife?
لا حتى لا الهيومن يعني the planet will change the planet will
I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I know that I'm looking at wildlife, and I know and I've seen that changes that are supposed to happen over 200 years are unfortunately happening over 10 years.
exactly.
يعني more people, less animals, more pollution, more buildings,
more fun.
more fire. Again, I'm not a scientist, so I cannot tell. But it's very sad. And sometimes, by the way, I have a feeling of, what I'm doing is useless because no matter what I do, nothing's gonna change. And no, خلاص, train وماشي, as we say, the forest will burn and the rivers will be polluted and people will multiply and sometimes I even get the impression I'm doing this for my own pleasure because it's useless. No matter what I do, things are not gonna change. But again, when I see nature again, such beautiful things, it motivates me again. But yes, it's very sad what's happening, and you can see things happening. You can see the changes. And I went to the Arctic. I was on an icebreaker in 2019. I was talking to the captain of the boat, and he was telling me how much over the past 20 years ice has retreated, has melted. So I don't know what's going to happen in 70 years. I'm not here. I'm not going to be here. But what I find a bit annoying and actually upsetting is I don't have kids. I should care less about what happened in 70 years than most of the people I know who have kids and who don't care about nature. Guys, I'm gone in 20 years, 30, whatever it is. So I shouldn't care about what happens in 30 years. You have kids. You should care. I'm the one going to the forest and to the Amazon taking photos to show the world what's going on. I enjoy this, but you should be doing it or do something else because your kids are going to be in 30 years. And I shouldn't worry what happens in 20 years. I'm going to be, I won't be here. So,
And I guess this is one of the most enjoyable interviews.
bravo, Nayla. It's thanks to you it's happening.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.
You're so inspiring.